In Five Nights at Freddy's 2, or simply FNAF 2, Mike and Vanessa had to deal with a threat far more powerful than William Afton, the puppet. But did you know that the movie is filled with hidden details that only older viewers managed to understand? One of the most shocking moments of the movie was its ending, when Vanessa was abandoned by Mike and ended up being possessed by the puppet. Almost everyone was caught off guard by that, but the truth is that older viewers could already imagine this happening. After all, before possessing Vanessa, the puppet had already possessed Lisa, another blonde girl who looks quite a lot like Vanessa herself. This was a clear sign that the puppet, the spirit of Charlie, had always wanted to steal the body of William Afton's daughter. Charlie was Vanessa's best friend while she was alive, so she likely admired her and wanted to be just like her. Since Charlie's thoughts seemed to have been corrupted after she became a spirit, her respect for her friend turned into a completely unhealthy obsession. This is just the first of the 18 things that only adults noticed in FNAF 2. That's right, another Cinewave is coming for you to enjoy. We only don't say that the final scene of Vanessa being possessed is definitely the most impressive moment because the climax of this movie was truly very surprising. When it comes to shock value, the possession scene competes with the reveal of the identity of the mysterious man who was helping the puppet, because he is revealed to be Michael Afton, Vanessa's brother, who wants to follow William Afton's legacy. Anyone familiar with the game's storyline knows that Michael Afton is considered the main character in most of them, being someone who wants to put an end to the evil caused by his father. What's curious is that, as far as we knew, the cinematic version of this character was actually Mike Schmidt, with the difference being that he is not William's son in this version, but Vanessa is. What only older viewers managed to understand is that both Mike Schmidt and Michael Afton are adaptations of the same character, since he is very complex in the games. When he was younger, he was a bully who put his own brother into the mouth of an animatronic as a prank, which ended up resulting in his brother's head being crushed. This event became known as the Bite of 83. Only years after this traumatic accident did Michael become a better person and go after his father. You can already see the parallels between the two Michaels from the movies and the Michael from the games, right? Mike Schmidt represents the good and traumatized side of the character, also having lost his brother, but to William rather than to an accident. Meanwhile, the movie's Michael Afton represents the character's evil side, showing what he could have become in the games if he had never changed. In a way, even Vanessa has elements of the game's protagonist. Besides also being William's daughter, she shares the character's trait of having many regrets, since she hid her father's crimes for several years before teaming up with Mike. In addition, there's a detail in FNAF 2 that can increase these similarities even more. In Vanessa's nightmare, we can see Circus Baby, an animatronic from the game FNAF Sister's Location. She was possessed by the spirit of William's youngest daughter, Elizabeth Afton, due to an accident in which the robot pulled the girl into its stomach. What's most curious is that Circus Baby has green eyes in the movie, even though her eyes only turn that color in the games after Elizabeth has already possessed the robot. In other words, all signs point to Circus Baby already being a haunted animatronic, and Vanessa knows it. Could it be that Elizabeth also exists and was a sister of Vanessa who lost her life? And what if Vanessa herself caused her death, in the same way that Michael Afton caused the Bite of 83 in the games? Speaking of that nightmare, it references one of the franchise's games, FNAF 4, which takes place entirely inside a nightmare where the animatronics are completely monstrous beings. The identity of this game's main character is uncertain, but many believe it is Michael Afton himself, experiencing these nightmares because of his trauma. If that's the case, this is yet another moment where Vanessa shows similarities to Michael from the game universe. Abby, Mike Schmidt's little sister, is a very important character in the movie's story for having created a very strong connection with the animatronics. And it's possible that there is a secret about her that children didn't notice, but adults did. That's because there is a popular theory among FNAF fans that Abby is actually an autistic child. She shows difficulty interacting with other children and isolates herself in her own world, something very common among autistic kids. In addition, she shows deep interest in things that don't usually attract other children's attention, such as when she was constantly drawing and when she started studying robotics because of the animatronics. animatronics. And if you also like animatronics as much as Abby does, comment down below #Abby. Did you notice that Vanessa has several seemingly random toys in her house? In reality, they aren't just random objects. At the beginning of the movie, young Vanessa is seen with a small toy airplane that used to belong to Mike's brother, who was one of William's victims. So yes, it's exactly what you're thinking. Vanessa's father took the toys from his victims and gave them as gifts to his own daughter. Something completely sickening. There's no doubt that William Afton is a monster, right? Thankfully, most of the kids who watched the movie didn't even notice this cruel detail. When Mike and Abby return to the abandoned pizzeria from the first movie, they pick up a Freddy plush toy. Believe it or not, even that plush is a reference, since there is a small Freddy plush just like it in FNAF 4. It's amazing how these movies are packed with Easter eggs like this, which are very hard to notice if you don't know the games. Still in that same scene, Mike presses the plush's chest, and that's when we hear a funny song. If you watched this movie in theaters, the audience definitely laughed a bit at that moment, and for good reason. Besides the tune being funny, it's a meme created by the FNAF community that has existed for many years. The movie referencing this song is yet another sign of how much it respects the community that was responsible for making the franchise as big as it is today. Arcade machines are very important in the FNAF games, since Fazbear had several of them, and there are even mini-games related to arcades within certain FNAF titles. So, of course, there would be references hidden in the arcades seen in this movie. The problem is that they aren't easy to spot. One of the arcade machines features a game called Pop Goes Adventure, and the character Pop Goes was originally created by fans of the franchise and became an official part of it in 2020. The games take place in an alternate universe where a franchise called Pop Goes Pizza exists. In another arcade machine, there's a game called Candy Fishing, which is also a reference to a fan-created character, Candy the Cat. He is the main character of the fan game Five Nights at Candy, which is about a restaurant that competes with Freddy Fazbear. And yes, this game was also officially connected to the FNAF franchise after a few years. It's really cool to see a fan creation being recognized and referenced in a Five Nights at Freddy's movie, and we hope that more references like this are included in future productions. Usually, when a movie takes place in the past, that's made very clear, but in the case of the FNAF movies, it's not so easy to notice that the story is set in the early 2000s, most likely around 2002. You can tell this by noticing that the characters don't use cell phones, only landlines and walkie-talkies. Not to mention that Vanessa and Mike were already older kids in 1982. If this were set in modern times, they would be around 50 years old, but both of them appear to be in their early 30s. Subscribing is quick, easy, and keeps you updated with everything happening here. Let's go? After calling a school staff member and realizing that Abby is in trouble, Mike hangs up the phone in the woman's face and walks away. And naturally, the woman calls him an idiot. This funny little moment isn't just a random joke, but actually a continuation of a joke from the first movie. This is something many younger viewers didn't even notice while watching. That's because in the 2023 FNAF movie, Mike also suddenly walks away after being given sleeping pills by a pharmacist, and the pharmacist's reaction is to call him an idiot as well. I bet this joke will show up again in the next sequel. Abby is very happy when she meets the toy animatronics and gets their help to build her small robot that looks like Chica, without realizing that the toys are not the same animatronics she befriended in the first movie. But what really matters to us is that she says Freddy couldn't help much because he has fat fingers. And guess what? This also has a hidden meaning that very few people manage to notice. In the game FNAF Ultimate Custom Night, Toy Freddy can be seen playing games. If he loses, he says he only lost because he has fat fingers. Lisa, the girl who ends up being possessed by the puppet, is played by McKenna Grace, but can you imagine that she has been a FNAF fan long before being cast to play a character in the movie? In a way, this is even referenced through her character, who knows the dark history of Fazbear and visits one of the franchise's abandoned pizzerias to investigate it. She also happens to have a curious connection with the actor who plays Mike, Josh Hutcherson. After all, McKenna Grace is a big fan of the Hunger Games franchise and even used to make edit videos about the character PETA, who was played by Josh Hutcherson. She was Team PETA, meaning she rooted for Katniss Everdeen, the main character of the movies, to end up dating Josh Hutcherson's character in the end. One of the best animatronics added to the movie is, without a doubt, Mangle. Even though she didn't have that much impact on the story, she has an absolutely incredible design. And according to Michael Afton, her appearance is the way it is because she was part of a failed attraction where Mangle was constantly assembled and disassembled. This is almost the same origin she has in the games, where she was actually Toy Foxy. The problem was that kids kept taking her apart all the time, and the employees had to put her back together every single day. To avoid having to do that anymore, they turned her into an attraction where people could assemble and disassemble her themselves. Did you happen to pay attention to the faces of the employees who appear in Charlie's flashback? If you didn't, that's okay because very few people did. But those who did pay attention may have noticed that one of the employees shown there is the same woman who appeared in the first movie, presenting the Fazbear employee training video. She must have been a great employee. Before you go, take a look at the 2 videos on the screen. Thanks for watching, and see you next time!